Hey everybody, Up North Guy here. A lot of people are down on these mid-mount mower decks on the John Deere compact tractors. Well, there's definitely some disadvantages with them, but there's also some positives. I've been using this 54D mid-mount deck on my 2025R for the past 2 seasons. Put together a video just on the pros and cons of using these mid-mount mower decks. So if you're thinking about buying one of these things, or maybe you want to get something to mow with that hangs off the back of your machine, then check this video out. Right, the first pro is just the fact that it's compact and it sits where it sits. It's basically right underneath the tractor. Doesn't take up a lot of room. It's basically on the same footprint as the tractor, so very maneuverable when you got it down there. Your alternative is to have something that runs off the rear PTO here, and I have a weight bracket on here now, but that would be a brush hog, a finish mower, or something like that. That thing's going to be back here about 3, 4, 5 feet off the back, so you are a lot less maneuverable when you have something back here in the back. It's going to extend the length of the tractor quite a bit. One of the advantages, I think, in the pros of these mid-mount decks is, well, it's just sitting right underneath there, not taking up a lot of space, allows you to get around trees, tight corners, that sort of thing when you're mowing. All right, my pro number 2 is just the size of the mid-mount mower deck. All right, here's a look of the deck once it's off. You can get to see the size a little bit better. Again, I've got a 54-inch deck. It's about 70 inches of space if you're looking end to end, including this little side guard that's on there. So it's not very wide. Again, if you had a bigger deck, 60-inch or 72-inch deck, it's obviously going to be wider than this. But this is not taking up a lot of space here. To the back here, this is about, in terms of the deck itself, maybe about 30 inches from the front to the back there. So it's not very deep at all, which I think is an advantage. It's just not very big of a unit to store. Now it does have this little bracket on the front here, which attaches to it, kind of adds to the length of it, and is a bit in the way. But if you had a rear mower, you would also have some kind of PTO shaft that would stick out here as well. All right, pro number 3 is that you can get it off pretty easy. All right, let me show you how easy it is to take the mid-mount mower deck off. It's snowing here mid-November in northern Michigan, and I definitely need to get this thing into storage. So here's how we do it. First thing you want to do, each of these wheels, there's 4 of them, they're on the mower deck here, has a little lever. This has got to be loosened up so this will sit all the way down to the bottom, because this deck has got to go all the way down on the ground. You can see I already did this for this one here. Come around the other side. You got one to do it here as well. That's loose. That wheel will drop. Same thing with the first one here as well. I always take the bucket off. Definitely need to have a little bit more room. I do this in my garage as well. Only take it on and off in the garage because you need a very level surface to do this on, and I can't find anything that's level enough on the outside. So the bucket comes off, gives you a little bit more room here. It also takes the weight off the front. I have heard some people say, you should take the whole loader assembly off whenever you remove the mower deck. I've never done that. I don't think you need to do that. Sometimes what I read is there's a conflict in the front here with this little bar that's on supporting the front of the mower deck, and then your loader stand right here. If they should clear each other, should be no issue, should be no reason to take this loader off itself. I've never done it. If there's anybody out there who says, hey, you should also do that, maybe just drop a comment in the video here and let me know why. In order to get the mower deck off, this knob here has got to be turned all the way around to 1 and then into this setting here. This is where you even show a little picture of it there. That's how you drive on and off the mower. This thing's got to be all the way around to that setting. To do that, the only way you can move the mower deck is to raise this 3-point hitch with a rock shaft lever all the way back. That'll raise this thing up, and that's going to release this knob here. You flip the knob around to that front setting where you drive on, drive off. Then you want to come back here and push this thing all the way down. That's going to drop the mower deck to the ground. And then the last thing to know is use 4-wheel drive for this, because you're going to be backing off of it. These front wheels are going to need traction, so I just want to stick this thing down into 4-wheel drive, and then you will be able to just drive right off the deck. One more thing I almost forgot. When you lower it, you got to make sure these latches, there's one of these latches on each side that are like this. This thing will drop down. This lever's got to be flipped back over, so then that'll allow you to drive off. It's really simple just to get in there, flip that one over. You got the same thing to do on the other side. Exactly the same. This little thing here. So I'm setting the deck all the way down, coming in here, flipping these levers up, and then I'll be able to drive off of it. So now for the cons. All right, it's definitely harder to get the thing back on than it is to take it off. I'll just tell you what I do. This works for me, and hopefully this will be helpful for anybody else who's might be struggling with how to get these things back on. First thing is, it's got to be a very level surface. I always do this in my garage. And it's concrete here, so it's completely level surface. I can't find a spot outside that's level enough, because everything has got to line up exactly for this thing to get to work correctly here. The other thing I'll do is I put some floor mats underneath, just basic kind of cheap rubber floor mats, because as heavy as this deck is, it's going to slide a little bit once you connect onto it. You need that kind of resistance under there. So these are just kind of cheap rubber floor mats I just stick under the sides here. You just hold it enough in place. I think it helps to grease the shaft here, because it's going to make a connection into this shaft. So I always grease this up, make sure that's got some fresh grease on it there. If you just come back to the tractor here, these little latches, again, remember we flipped them up, or you do have to flip them up in order to take the deck off. You want to make sure they're flipped all the way back here, because what's going to happen is this little bracket's going to come through here and just sort of poke in there, and then it'll lock in. So both of those things have to be in the position that's where the front of this is, right next to that little black knob there. The other thing is this PTO shaft, you got to drop your 3-point lever all the way down, and then even when it's down, you got to just usually have to yank this thing down just maybe about, I don't know, 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch, just that last little bit to get it as low as possible. That's another thing you got to make sure that you do, because this is where that shaft is going to connect up to. It's just got to be as low as possible. It just doesn't quite drop all the way when you lower your 3-point hitch. All right, has to be in 4-wheel drive. The other thing is, when I'm driving over, this front wheel is going to come right on the edge of this guy here, this little bracket. I mean, it is like as close onto this thing as you can get it without driving over the side of it. So that tire is just completely rubbing very, very close on the side of this rail here. So you got to line that up just perfectly. Con number 2 is it sits so low to the ground that you really, have trouble working with any other implement on it where you need ground clearance. So this deck right now, I've got it at the highest setting, right? The lower settings are here. That's up at about a 5. That's as high as I can go with it. That's, 5-6 inches right there. So that's not a lot of clearance at the highest setting. So you really can't get it up and out of the way when you need ground clearance. My con number 3 relates to just where, once you take it off, where it sits. It's got to sit right on the ground. If you had a rear mower, you could set that thing down on a pallet, come back around and pick it up and move it around easily with your tractor. With this thing, as soon as you drop it, I mean, you're driving over, so it's got to sit on the ground, which means it's difficult to move once it's down here. It's very heavy. What I do is use a little, kind of like a, I guess you'd call it a snowmobile dolly, something like this. I'll stick under there, lift aside. I have 3 of these things just to kind of get it up on something that you can start sliding it around. But the thing is very heavy and it is difficult to move. Is definitely one of the cons about it. Now, John Deere makes something called a load and go bracket, which I think is a good product. I think it basically attaches right in here, and then on the other side it's a bracket that you attach to the deck here, and then you just use your loader here. It's a quick attach, so you just use your loader, attach it right on here in the front, then you can pick this whole thing up easily with the loader. Now that I believe is only used with the 60 and the 72-inch deck. I got the 54, so unfortunately I can't do anything like that. But if there is something out there, I would think it would be worth it, because this thing is really a pain to move around. So what should you do? Well, I think it depends on how you use the tractor. For me, it works because I mostly mow with this tractor. I'm not taking the deck on and off a lot. In fact, I only put it on once at the beginning of the season. I take it off at the end of the season because I use a snow pusher and I need the ground clearance to do that in the winter. If you are, needing to get that mower deck off so you have clearance to use other implements on the tractor a lot, I think it'd be difficult. I would recommend going with a rear-based mower in that case. But if you're mostly mowing like I do, you don't need to take it on and off. It really works great. It's compact. All the advantages are there for you.